What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back again with another video. Sorry, again, I had to take a few days. Maybe it's been a week, maybe it's been 2 weeks. I don't even remember, to be honest with you guys, but this is something I want to do more on this channel, and that's like whenever I'm just thinking of something when it comes to a hockey topic. It doesn't have to always be a crazy trade rumor or something like that. Like, let's just have a conversation here. Let's just have, a bit of a discussion. So this video is kind of, I don't even know what I'm going to title it, to be honest, but it's again looking at the Leafs cap situation and looking at their roster and trying to explain to people why the Leafs roster is not necessarily set in stone like Kyle Dubas, Brendan Shanahan, and when fans everywhere are thinking that, oh, this is the roster the Leafs are going to be complete with, this is how it's going, this is what they're going to do. Guys, we're in a world right now, and the NHL at the time I'm recording this is in a world where they don't even they don't know what they're doing. Like, at the time I'm recording this, it's going to go up the same night, but as far as Twitter could be going crazy right now, but the world doesn't know, and especially the hockey world, for this topic specifically, like, we don't know how the rosters are going to work, anything like that. But I also want to jump ahead to the trade deadline and stuff like that, which also could be very interesting. Players getting traded and having to quarantine for 14 days. That's something that a lot of people aren't bringing up, but I want to talk about how the Leafs can still maximize this roster, how they can still make trades, where pieces could be moved, and just kind of collectively have thoughts on why this Leaf team can still make trades, and why I still think they will mid-season. I think they're trying things out. I think they're going to try out some of their defensive pairings, and if it doesn't work out, who knows, a trade could be made pretty quickly in the season. Some teams might make a move hoping to get that guy quarantined and in there for 14 days. Like, teams might be making deals a few weeks before the trade deadline just because of the quarantine and stuff like that. We have to get into it, but there's a lot to unpack here. So basically, I'm going to take you over to CapFriendly. So why I wanted to make this video is because a lot of people here are saying the Leafs don't have money to make any moves, and what you're probably seeing here is negative cap space. Well, you can see that there's an extra body here that the Leafs don't necessarily have to have here. Okay, this is already needing me to refresh. That's just hilarious. But anyways, Jason Spezza could be moved over. Let's just put Boyd in the minors for now. So again, still need that 300,000. Well, Rasmus Sandin. Now here's the thing. I don't necessarily think that, again, it's not set in stone how many players are going to be on the roster. So they could have extra guys on a taxi squad and stuff like that. We'll have to see how the cap's going to work, but that's the reason why I'm moving a guy like Rasmus Sandin down. He could be on the taxi squad. He could win a spot on this roster. Who knows? But just for the sake of this video. So the next thing I need to look at here, now that we're technically cap compliant, is this the roster that you're going to see? Is these the guys that are going to be on the roster? These are the guys that are going to play. I would imagine it's going to look something similar to this. Pierre Engvall could still get a shot in the main lineup, which I think would probably make a lot of sense. So I'm actually going to try that first, just to show you guys what I'm talking about when it comes to them making trades and stuff like that. So this roster is still cap compliant. I would actually rather this roster. I think that Engvall can move up and down. I think they'll give VC a chance there. But you've got 7 defensemen here that you can use. One of them will be a scratch more than likely. You still have guys in the minors that you can use, like Robertson, Boyd. Hallander apparently might get a shot. You've got Barabanov. Korshkov has played very well. Joey Anderson. And then Rasmus Sandin. You still got Timothy Liljegren. Mac Hollowell is impressing a lot of people. Marinson, again, guys, some people think that I was saying that he's a good option. No, I think that he's good when it comes to depth. Like, if he's like your 8th or 9th guy, I mean, that's not bad. You're not going to get to him, hopefully, but I mean, he's there to kill penalties if you need him. But the goaltending depth, Wool, Dell, Hutchinson, there's a lot of depth here, and then Campbell and Anderson, of course. But my main purpose of this video is to show you guys that this roster could be constructed like this. But once the Leafs figure out some roster spots and some players, if they're not working, or if maybe they're exceeding expectations, they can move on from somebody else. Now, I would expect, Hyman, Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares, Mikheyev. Like, those guys are probably guys that they aren't going to move on. If Mikheyev really, doesn't have a good start, or he just doesn't play well this season, he can move down, and maybe there's a possibility they try to move on from him or whatever. But this is just hypothetical. I'm not saying it's happening. It could be like that for VC, Engvall. It could be like that for Simmons, Thornton, Spezza, whoever. This forward group, I would imagine, does not look like this by the end of the year. I think you could see a Robertson here. Like, if they're not impressed with Engvall, they could trade that $1.2 million. They, if they're not impressed with Jimmy VC and they don't like what they see, he could be on a taxi squad or he could be traded. It's $900K. It's not that difficult. I think teams would be willing to give him a shot. Same thing with Engvall. Like, what people think, and it's hilarious. And I'm not just saying it's just Leaf fans, but it's fans in general. And it's not just the Leafs that get this treatment, but people think that, the Leafs, all of their players for some reason have really bad trade value. I mean, Kasperi Kapanen just got the Leafs Hallander, a really good prospect, and a first-round pick, and people were complaining. And the Leafs got cap space on top of that. Again, I don't understand how people think Leaf players have, like, this really bad negative trade value. But trades are made with bad players going to other teams and then working out perfectly fine. We're just guys that watch the game and, scout the way we want to scout. But when you're in the NHL, you probably, when you're getting paid, you probably have a better chance of knowing what's really going on. So just keep that in mind. But, this 1.5 with Wayne Simmons, that, he's got the no trade clause. I can't see them moving on from it, but, they could bury that. There's ways for them to create money. There's way for them to create space. I would look directly at, a guy like Justin Hall, that if they weren't liking the way he was playing, or if they felt that they liked the other guys that were here, Mikko Lehtinen was taking a big step, and they liked the way that he's playing, they could move on from Justin Hall, get him in there, or maybe acquire another guy that could play in that top four. So if you were, let's say you take this $2 million and this Pierre Engvall 1.2, you make separate trades, or maybe it's in the same trade, just for late picks or a mid pick, depending on how well they're playing, or it could be involved for a trade for somebody. You're at least making space to be able to fill somebody else in there. You could, you can move on from somebody here too, but there's definitely ways to create space. You could fill in a guy like Robertson here, who's a bit cheaper, and then you could spend that money on defensemen, because leading up to the trade deadline, we will explain it, and by we, I mean me and Downtown Stephen Brown. We have a couple video ideas that we talked about a long time ago. He probably doesn't even remember. I barely remembered as I was recording this, but we had some topics that we wanted to go through in regards to the cap situation closer to the trade deadline, because the Leafs actually would have a little bit more cap space, and every team in the league would, to make a move. And I'm not talking millions. I just mean, there'll be dollars and pennies, basically, even though they're extinct. But they'll be scratching around for the loose change, but they'll be able to make an upgrade if they have to, if they need to make a trade. There'll be ways for them to get that cap space to be able to make a move like that. And that's why I'm saying guys like Justin Hall, a Zach Bogosian, which I don't think he'll be traded because of the no trade clause or whatever. But like Pierre Engvall, if they really had to, and they weren't impressed, Ilya Mikheyev could get moved. Jimmy VC, like there's ways for them to make cap space. And same thing with like Joe Thornton or Jason Spezza. If they felt like that wasn't a good fit and they could send them to another contender to make them happy or whatever, I can't see them doing it. And especially because of the no move clause for Joe Thornton, more specifically Jason Spezza. I don't know. I'm just throwing a bunch of names out there. But the Leafs can move out space in order to upgrade, and it would more than likely be on their blue line. Like maybe Mikko Lehtinen doesn't work out. They'll have to move on from him. They'll have to bury him in the minors, whatever they got to do. Maybe he goes back to the KHL. There's a million different things that the Leafs could do with this roster. And that's just me standing behind a microphone or sitting behind a microphone. But anyways, I'm just saying, like there's a lot of people that think that teams just can't make moves, and this is not just the Leafs. There's lots of teams that people are like, they can't do nothing now. They can. There's ways for them to be compliant with the cap and also make moves closer to the deadline where they can improve their roster even if it looks like they can't. So just make sure that you guys look into how the cap works and closer to the deadline, and and just look at the contracts. That's all I do. I go on CapFriendly. I literally look at this and go, okay, well, Pierre Engvall's not that bad. He could get traded if they had to. Same thing with VC. Same thing with Mikheyev. Same thing with Justin Hall. Like, there is moves to be made. Like, I think people forget that there's been terrible players traded in the NHL where people scratch their head and go, how did that trade happen? Why did they give up a pick for this guy? And then they end up either working out or it just is a bad trade. It's going to happen. It's going to happen regardless if you believe it or not. Hell, maybe the Leafs trade Kerfoot for a defenseman. I don't know. There's a bunch of options here. So let me know what you guys think. And again, this is just more of like thoughts I had in my head. I'm not sitting here saying that this is some big deal. I just wanted to get it off my chest, and I think that that's a good thing. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Leave your comments down below, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video or stream. Peace.